Many people are in this great search in their life for a better work-life balance. And so as they're trying to find that balance in life, and maybe you're not working anymore. Maybe it's just sort of all these things you seem obliged to do versus some of the things you want to do. And in trying to find the balance in that, the first tactic oftentimes is to be a little more efficient, a little time management. Usually involves, these days, some kind of electronic device or some digital resources. And that gets you to a point, but then it's like there's still never enough time, there's never enough balance. So then people get into maybe making better priorities, and perhaps I need to learn how to say no to some things, as some people. And yet again, sometimes in life, there is certain obligations we have, certain things going on in people's lives, and that's just not realistic or possible. Or just when it feels like it's at the right balance, then something else throws it off. So maybe there needs to be something more at work in this desire, especially when you think that in some ways that's a myth, because work is a part of life. And so how do we try to compartmentalize our life when we're the same person going through all of this? Maybe there's something even deeper that I can look to that I'm searching for and wanting in my life. And then, to make it maybe a little more confusing, is we have this reading from Luke's Gospel. Normally we talk about, Martha and Mary is kind of the short title. And we have to remember it was right after what we were hearing last week, right after the part in Luke's Gospel of the Good Samaritan story. The Good Samaritan story, if you remember at the end, Jesus said, "Go and do likewise, treat others with mercy." And in some ways, it was a helpful reminder that those who can be getting into religion and spirituality, especially like the priest and the Levite, can oftentimes be so enamored in, the faith, the religion, and what I have, and it never actually spills out into action. It never actually has an impact on others' lives. So then we're being encouraged to be pretty active and do a lot of things. So how does this all fit together? And this is why I think Luke then reminds us of the next thing that happens, because this is the next tendency that we have. Okay, let's go to work. Let's do a lot of things. Let's try to see if we can balance it and put it all together. And then it gets quite overwhelming. Martha, you are anxious and worried about many things. And we can feel that a lot in our lives. Things have gotten so hectic. Feels like almost out of control. And how do we find, really it's not balance, but something deeper. And the something deeper is that really everything that we're doing has to go back to the source. That we take the position of a disciple. Mary is sitting at Jesus' feet because that's what somebody who's learning and listening does. Put themselves in the position, before anything's even said, to be able to hear, to be able to listen. And so many things that we do in our Catholic faith, getting really immersed in the scriptures, having that ongoing prayer life, having all the sacraments, that gives us that ongoing foundation, because if we're not settled, if we're not near the feet of Jesus, we're not going to hear anything. And when we start hearing things, when we start approaching our life, perhaps at the beginning of the day, and not say to the Lord, here's my to-do list, here's what I've got to do, help me to get through all this. Maybe the first thing is to say, Lord, where do you need me today? Lord, who's the person that I may need to be more focused on loving? Or be ready, because I may not have ever met that person in my life except for today. I think one of the things we want to pay attention to, of whether we're truly listening to the Lord and really involving Him in driving our life and maybe not getting involved on the back end, is that at the end of the day, for a lot of us, we're going to be tired. We're going to be have some, physically, we're going to be like, okay, I've put some effort in today. It's the end of the day. I'm ready for some rest. And then the secondary experience might be, but man, I'm not sure I got anything done. I'm still feeling anxious about a lot of things. I'm like Martha. There's all this stuff. It seems like good stuff even, but something is still amiss. But when we're focused on what the Lord is directing us to do, and where He really needs us and wants us to do, which, by the way, is oftentimes what we want to do, what gives us some joy and pleasure in life, even in the midst of a lot of obligations. We come to the end of the day and we're tired. But there's something else in our spirit that's sort of like energized, like something fruitful happened today, or something like God's love. I felt it because I felt like I was also able to share it. I think the more we pay attention to that, the more we have a sense of we're actually listening to the voice of the Lord. In some ways, what's ironic is Mary, on the spiritual level, was much more hospitable to Jesus than Martha was, because she was listening to Him. So I'd like to give you one other way maybe of thinking about how to approach this as we go into our everyday lives and trying to be good disciples of Jesus, listening to His voice, listening to the guidance of His Holy Spirit. And that is, we can approach life as we go into our days as if we're getting into a motorboat. And we just kind of turn the motor on, we get in, and we just kind of take off. And we can steer it, we can kind of take it to wherever we want to go. Versus, maybe our life is more like a sailboat, in which we get into the boat, and we're kind of beholden a little bit to how to move forward and kind of the direction things will go by whatever way the wind is blowing. And yet, when we do that, we're certainly not as much in control. But the adventure of life and the ease of which we can do that, because with the wind, you never run out of gas. And sometimes there is no wind, which is God's signal for us to say, stop. Maybe just rest a little bit. And soon enough, we'll be on our way. And so, fellow disciples of Jesus, let us continue to sit at His feet and really be intent in our everyday lives to let the Spirit guide us, to let Jesus' voice speak to us, and to help us to know exactly how to put His mercy into action. Let us make that choice, because really that's the only thing that matters, the one thing, the most important thing. When we make that choice, then we shall not be deprived of the goodness that the Lord has in mind for us.